be healthy, y'all.
We're going to cover a squat pattern today and talk about what I feel is the biggest missing factor in most people's squats, and it's core stiffness or anterior core stability. A lot of times we're not bringing enough of the core into this pattern, and that's when we'll see a lot of movement at the pelvis, a lot of movement at the lower back, which we don't want, especially under load. A lot of times, first people's step is to go to the bar and then load up a back squat. But what this is gonna do is, if I don't have external shoulder mobility to come back and grab that bar, it's gonna lengthen my core and compress my lower back to be able to get that. And I'm setting myself up for failure. If I start here, at some point I'm gonna have to roll under to get through that squat and then roll back out to get up top. Especially when we've got a weight directly on our spine. This is a horrible idea for long-term spinal health. I don't think back squats are never a good idea. I just think it's definitely not a good starting point, and you should be able to achieve a lot of other squat patterns loaded in different positions before we can get to the bar. So my go-to teaching pattern is the reaching squat. So I'll use a medicine ball, a light dumbbell, kettlebell, somewhere between 5 to 10 pounds, and just have somebody hold out in front of them. So what this is gonna do is give us that core stiffness so that I can sit right between my legs as I squat, and I don't feel like I have to sit beneath them or I have to get any movement in my spine to be able to achieve a deep squat. I'll categorize people generally into one of two postures. Maybe a flex position where we've got the hips tucked underneath us and a rounded upper back. For this person, I'll probably cue you to sit your hips back a little bit to initiate that squat. But for most people with an anteriorly tilted pelvis and an extended lower back, I'm going to want them to think about pulling your butt underneath you or pulling your belt line up to your belly button so that we can get the pelvis to a more neutral position and sit right between the legs. So you'll see if I try to sit down with this anteriorly tilted position and this lumbar hyperextension, I get stuck right about there. And that's not a hip mobility restriction, that's not an ankle mobility restriction, that's just bone on bone in the front side of my hip. So if I can correct this pelvic position, I can immediately sink past that point. It's not a tightness issue, it's just that we need this core stability so that things can be aligned right and move correctly. So a cue that I'll give people oftentimes is to take your feet and grab the ground like you're trying to rip a newspaper apart that was on the floor. So my feet stay in the same position, but my knees and hips open up to clear room for me to sit right between my knees and then drive back up.